Welcome in. It's your Wednesday live chat for this week's Tour Championship, British Masters, really whatever else you want to talk about this time is yours. There is only 30 players between now and the end of the PGA Tour season, but don't you fret. Just 1 week off, one lowly week off. We cede the stage to that little sport called football, that little organization called the NFL. They get to have their day in the sun. We throw them a bone, and then we are right back at it again the following week. So we really take no weeks off around here. I've got some cool stuff brewed up on the website over the next couple weeks. I think people are going to be very excited about, and give me an opportunity to dive into all the projects that I've been wanting to get after. Now, the way we normally start this is with weather and one and done ownership. I would assume most one and dones are complete by now, although based on some of your questions, I can see that there are a handful that are still running. Just for purposes of consistency, let's look at the weather. I don't think it's going to be impactful. And again, there's not a weather wave. It's 30 golfers going out over a couple of hours in twosomes. So it's only 15 groups. They're not spread out very much. So it's not like there are waves to worry about, but just to get an idea for what this week might look like. It's going to be hot. Yeah, going to be hot, going to be humid. It's going to be sweaty. And a little bit of PM showers coming on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. Other than that, looks pretty sunny, looks pretty warm. I don't think there's going to be anything to worry about here. The wind probably not going to play a factor. It is going to be very hot and nasty in Atlanta. Instead of the one and done ownership, because I don't have it for this week, I don't think Office Football Pool has it. We could talk a lot about this golf course. When I made my preview video on Monday, I was going off a lot of the satellite imagery, the measurements, the mapping that I had done. I was going off of some of the course architect comments, things of that nature. We now have had some guys talk about the course in their press conferences and how it's playing, which I think is really interesting. And actually what I'm going to do is let me share a different part of my screen with you, because I'm going to share you the Google Earth stuff. And we're just going to do this for just a minute or two. We'll get to the questions here pretty quickly, but let me see if I can do this. Yeah. Okay. So this is the most up-to-date satellite image I could find. It looks like it's from April, and you can see for the most part, this is all done, right? So this portion of the golf course looks to be complete. These are the new bunkers. You can see the greens have been sprigged. They have not grown in yet, but it looks like most of them have been seeded, for lack of a better term. And then the only thing that looks like it's remaining is the holes around the lake here, because that's where they did the most extensive work. This looks to me like 15, which is now even more like a true island green. They took out the bunker that used to be here, and I think you're going to see a grandstand potentially behind, maybe not, behind 15 there. And then you'll see 18 still not done. This is the lake on 18. This is where the green will be. And actually what's kind of cool about this, I'll show you something real cool here. You can see, so this is from 2023. So this is May of 2023. You can see this was the driving range that goes over the lake. This is 18 coming up the other side. And the lake would just cut into 18 and then kind of bounce out. Well, not anymore, right? The lake has been removed from the driving range and has been extended up the fairway here on 18, which means this fairway where my cursor's at is now much more narrow and makes that layup a lot more difficult. This was already a very difficult hole. The other thing is they've graded this 18 fairway so that almost every ball that comes to rest will be on a downhill lie. I've heard this week that no one is able to hold this 18th green from the fairway on their second shot. You're going to see a lot of shots from the bunker, a lot of shots from over the green, just because of how firm and fast everything is and how perfect you have to be on that shot. The other comments are a lot about the firmness and how fast it is. A golf course in general, when you resod it like this, and remember, every blade of grass has been replaced, every single one. It plays very firm. It plays bouncy. We see that all the time. When greens are replaced, it takes years, literally years of play to settle them in. And this will be these are the first rounds being played at Eastlake since last year's Tour Championship. So they're brand spanking new. So I think we're going to get firm. I think we are going to get fast. I think this golf course is tangibly more difficult. Even with them changing, what number did they change? 14 to a par 5 now. Is that right, Rick? Yep. 14 it used to be a par 4. Now it's going to be a par 5. I think it is still pretty tangibly more difficult. So I'm excited to see how this ends up taking shape and how difficult it ends up being. But yeah, I think we're gonna have a lot of great fun this week. All right, we can circle back on that if we need to, but let's get into some of your questions here. JT says, my one and done actually includes the Tour Championship, but it's a normal elevated purse and no staggered strokes, so just their actual 4-round score. Highest upside between Burns, Sungjae, and Rory. Yeah, I think that I think you just have to play Rory here. Right. And this is my website, rickrungood.com. It's a giant database for fantasy golf and golf betting. There's a lot of tools on there. There's a lot of models. There's a lot of information. I think you'll really like it. Rory McIlroy was miserable in Memphis. He was a lot better at the BMW Championship, even though it did not necessarily look that way. He drove it well. He putted it well again. He actually gained throughout the bag. I don't know how much we want to knock off the course history feature of Eastlake because of all the changes that have been done, but he's dominated here. He's dominated here. So you're talking about upside. You're talking about 4-round scores. Those other guys are good, but I think you have to play Rory if I were you. Can you look through the last couple of Tour Championship optimals and look for any sort of pattern? So I don't have the optimals handy anymore, but I was looking at this throughout the week. I don't believe the most expensive golfer has ever been in the optimal lineup, or at least not the last couple of years. Now, I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that the pricing is wildly different this year. So I'm not sure how informative this exercise is to look back at old optimals, because the salaries are very, very different. 2019, the first year of the staggered start, Justin Thomas, who started at 10 under, was 15,500. And there was golfers all the way down to $5,000. And that was really the case in 2020. It kind of went to the middle in 2021. Guys were 13,400, 13,000. 2022, same thing. 2023, getting a little bit closer, 13,400. But we've never seen a top guy. In all of those years, the pricing went down to $5,000. This is the first year the pricing has not gone down to $5,000. So I think that you're still going to need the guys who make the biggest moves, right? You're talking about someone who's going to go from 1 under, T25, T26 to 9th, something like that, because the birdies that are required to do that are going to be a big chunk of the scoring for those guys that have to move up. But I still think, $12,200 for Scotty Scheffler. And I know he doesn't have the birdies for it yet, but he has a lot of equity on the 30 win points. And he is $100 cheaper now than he was last week. Morikawa has been a dud for the last few tournaments, but would you still bet him to finish inside the top 5, considering how well he did last year with just a 1 under start? Yeah, so he got off to an unbelievable start. He shattered, like Jay says here, shattered some scoring records last year. So I wouldn't say he's been a dud. I would say it's been okay. Nothing spectacular. The little concern that I have is the approach play, because he was back to Morikawa-esque form basically all the way through, from the Masters or from the PGA Championship through, even from the Masters through the Olympics. Has not been good in the playoffs. I'm more bullish on Colin than I think you are, Jay. Coleman says, hey, can you run a model for me? Sure. So this is the Rick Run Good model. He wants to go with, let's see, driving accuracy for 30. Okay. Strokes gained approach last 12 for 20. So he wants this to be pretty short term. Strokes gained approach 12 for 20. Gaining 3, 4, 5 strokes to the field, 10 each. He wants an upside calculation. Okay. 10, 10, and 10. Bonus putting. Oh, yeah, baby. I love me some bonus putting. How many putts you make inside of 5 feet and outside of 20, I believe it is, or 25 feet. And then par 5 scoring. You got it. Coleman's model is Scotty Scheffler 1, Tommy Fleetwood 2, Xander, Ludwig, Cantlay, Hideki, Aaron Rai, $6,400, Adam Scott, Victor Hovland, and Billy Horschel. That's his top 10. Rick, do you think the new fast greens could exacerbate, I have a hard time pronouncing that word, what seems like a recent cooling off of Scotty's putter? Wow. Tongue-tied today. I think it's valid. The one thing, this is really deep in the weeds, and Scotty has mentioned this maybe twice in the last 2 years, but the fact that he's even mentioned it at all makes me know that it's kind of top of mind for him. He talks a lot about friction, putting, friction, and fast greens do not have friction. And because they're cut so short, right? Like that, he explains it much better than I ever will. But the idea being that when you have these fast greens, not only are they fast, but balls don't necessarily stay on the line that you hit them on or that you think they're going to stay on, because there's not that natural friction to keep it going in that direction. It's almost like a, going to your kitchen floor and putting, like pledge on it, right? And just like sliding all over the place. So I think there is something to be said about fast greens causing Scotty issues. Now, Augusta National would probably like a word. The other thing is he's putted horribly here. Now, I mean, I'm serious. Like he's lost like 15 or 16 strokes putting in his last four years. Does it actually help him to get new surfaces? I kind of am just very neutral on Scotty. I don't want to take a huge stance. I think that he's a good play because he's the best player in the world and he has access to the 30 fantasy points at the top. But if I were betting him outright, like I think Xander's probably going to win. I've only made one bet with strokes as of right now. It was Rory McIlroy. But I just because I didn't really want to bet 2.5 to 1 on Xander, but I am a little concerned about that. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer. Somebody commented on a video and said, "Good thing there's a adjust playback speed button." I was like, yeah, sometimes like if you want like a 2-minute video, this is not for you. For DFS, would you prefer Ludwig and Seabez or Bradley and Henley? That would be Ludwig and Seabez for me. So we know what Ludwig's been up to. We know what Keegan's been up to. Keegan, for what a great year it's been, it's only been great 3 times, and he's made the most out of all of that. Ludwig, I think, is probably a better fit for Eastlake, and then I think that Seabez is worse than Henley, but I think the gap between Ludwig and Keegan is kind of big enough to overcome that. And $6,300 for Bezuidenhout, you really don't need all that much from him. Finish inside the top half, or fantasy points, improve your position a little bit, and you can go from there. I've only made 2 bets again. So I don't know if anybody knows. Armina's she's been out of town. She's coming home tonight, thank God, because she does all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. So I'm behind on stuff because I've been doing the things that she normally handles. So I've only made 2 bets this week so far. One was Rory at 18-1 with the strokes. So he starts what, 6 back or whatever. And then excluding strokes, it was I got a worse number. Also 18-1 on Tommy Fleetwood. And the idea there is Tommy's had a phenomenal year. He's in a position where he's going to have to try to make up ground. I think it would just be classic Tommy to basically win the shadow leaderboard, but not get credited with a victory. Right. He finishes runner up or silver at the Olympics, a T22 with honestly a couple of bad rounds in there in Memphis. And then he was really good in Denver. And I just like the way he's trending here. And I went with Tommy. Outside of those two, I thought like Wyndham Clark at 20 is kind of interesting for the no starting strokes market. Sung Jae Im at 22, I think is kind of interesting. And then with the strokes, I only think 5 guys can win with the strokes. And they are these 5. Scotty, Xander, Hideki, Rory, and Ludwig. So I just took Rory, King of East Lake, 18-1. Good luck. I think Xander probably does win though. Kevin has a smaller one and done with adjusted scoring this week. His best 2 options are Keegan and Colin. Rest of the group is locked in on Scotty, Ludwig, Xander, Rory, and Hideki. What do you think? I think you have to play Colin. Stinks, but I think you have to. Now, don't let this go to your head. What do you think? Do you think you and the first cut guys have an effect on DFS ownership each week? I think in general, the answer is no, because of just how many people are playing and how little anybody is reaching, right? Now, I've had people send me some analysis and say, no, like there's a correlation to what you're saying. And I'm like, well, but if I didn't say that, would people still end up on specific golfers? I try to do it as early as possible. So I don't know what other people are going to say. Not that I tune in anyway, but long story short, I don't think so, but I will tell you that people do think so. Also, I'm wearing my 300 yards to unknown shirt, right? This is for the real sickos. Like that's the shot tracker text, obviously, which is very cool. Hey, Rick, it's been a great season. Can you run a model for last 12? I think I already have last 12 in there, which is nice. 25 around the green, 25 approach, 25 tee to green. Am I reading that right? And 25 on Bermuda. Chris's top 10. Tommy. No, it's Tommy Fleetwood. Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Xander Schauffele, Sam Burns, Adam Scott, Scotty Scheffler, Billy Horschel, Russell Henley, Chris John, Bezadenhout. Chris Kirk deep dive. Played very well at the BMW. Curious of what your thoughts are and how he'll fit. Very well that's Coleman's words, not mine. Oh, I just moved out of my model. So this is kind of a weird situation. He was awesome in Memphis in round 1 and very, very bad the rest of the 3 rounds. Then he was bad in round 1. So he had basically 4 straight rounds, which he was very bad, and then just played well the final 3 of the BMW Championship. I am not necessarily a believer in Chris Kirk. I think he's got a new putter in the bag, and it worked at Castle Pines, but not every day. And he is historically a miserable putter. I think that there are some good things, like he's a Georgia guy. There's a lot of water, like it's Florida golf, but I will not have much, if any, exposure to Chris Kirk. Not the Tour Championship, but should Terrell Hatton be even bigger favorite in his return to the DP this weekend? What do the stats say? Well, we could look at this a lot of different ways. So the British Masters it's loaded into the model, it's loaded into the website, it's loaded into all that. If we just did, what do you want to do? Last 36 rounds, strokes gained total. I guess we should probably use weighted strokes gained, right? Because you got a bunch of guys who are playing on different tours. Hatton, I have Hatton third behind Matt Wallace and Thorbjorn Olesen. Now, and Harry Hall's playing. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Look at Matteo Monteseri's $8,400. He's seventh in this model. Hatton's obviously been great. He's cooled a hair, right? I mean, he was good at Live Golf UK. Fine. He was average at Live Golf Greenbrier. That's not a great result. And then he missed the cut at the Open Championship. So those are his last three. He's obviously cooled off from his run up to the Open, but I think that his class, like his long-term form, is the best in the field, but I don't think he necessarily should be a bigger favorite. I think that he is. Let me pull up the cheat sheet. I keep clicking off the cheat sheet and all that fun stuff. Let's look at this. Yeah, I mean, Rasmus has been pretty good. I can't believe Harry Hall's playing this. I'll tell you what, Matteo Montesero is probably going to win it. Hadn't had a chance to dive into that field this week. Any word on Hideki's back? Yeah, like here's the thing. We're not going to know anything about Hideki. Okay. Todd Lewis said earlier this week, he talked to Hideki's team and he was, quote, not 100%, but he's going to play. I don't know what that means. Not 100% could be 99%, could be 10%, could be 30%, could be anything. Hideki is historically a very unreliable narrator of his own body or form. Remember when he said he was a 1 out of 10 before the Zozo Championship and then he won the Zozo Championship? For me, when Hideki speaks, you plug your ears. When Hideki plays, you play him. And if he WDs or whatever, it stinks. It's the rub of the green. Sometimes golf happens, who cares? I think he is one of the few guys who can win this. He's going to come in at one of the lowest projected ownerships. He is playing great golf, including in the WD last week. So I'm rolling out Hideki as if nothing has ever happened to him. 60-man season-long league. Comes down to the Tour Championship. I'm up 600,000. Do I roll out Scotty and Xander? Wait, what? Or Xander, Hideki, Keegan, and Ludwig? Most prize money wins. So you can choose to either play 2 guys or 4 guys. Is the prize money based on the actual bonuses? Because the bonuses are incredibly top heavy. So you have to play Scotty and Xander if that's the case, because it's very likely one of them is going to get 25 million. If you play Xander and Scotty wins and Xander gets 12.5 million, you're not going to be able to make up another 12.5 million from 3 other golfers. It doesn't really matter how they finish. I think even if you if you play Xander, Hideki, Keegan, and Ludwig and Scotty wins, I don't think the next 4 spots add up to 25 million. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. I don't understand how you could play either 2 or 4 guys. Maybe there's like a salary cap or something. What did you think of Xander's press conference saying the course is not ready? They did the whole thing in 10 months. I think every renovation wishes they had more time, but Xander's also on the list of unreliable narrators. How would you rank these golfers as DFS plays this week? Cantlay, Clark, Burns, Fleetwood, Finau, Sungjae. I got to look at their salaries. I would say Burns, Fleetwood, Cantlay, Clark, Sungjae, Finau. Hey Rick, thanks for all that you do for being a big silly goose. No problem. Where is the data collected from? Hey, Tony, I have deals with all the major tours. So I have deals with the PGA Tour, which also gets me Corn Ferry, Senior Tour. I have a deal with the DP World Tour. I have a deal with Live Golf. They all send me the shot by shot information for every shot that is hit and everything else. I throw it into one massive data warehouse, and then I make the tools off of that. So that's where it's coming from. With the new green complexes, I'm thinking less emphasis on putting and targeting longer, accurate drivers due to the added length is the way to go. Thoughts? I'm not going to argue with that. Rick, it's crazy that another season has come and gone after the Tour Championship. What has been your biggest takeaway from this year on the PGA Tour? One, the product is much better when all the best players play together, which means the invention or creation of the signature events has been good. If you look back, we've never seen, I remember there was an analysis on this. You would never get the top 30 guys all playing the same events ever. You'd only get like 5 or 6 of the top 30, then 5 or 6, like they would all just spread out. That has been good. The way that they've done some of the signature events and the purses and which ones are signature events and all that stuff, I have problems with, but the idea is very good. That also extends to the guys that are on Live, Bryson and Brooks and Cam Smith and DJ to an extent and Joaquin Neiman and Terrell Hatton. It's better when those guys are all playing in the same spot. It is just better. I also worry about the future of like there's just so much stuff. It's not limited to the PGA Tour, but it's obviously a lot of the PGA Tour. But there's just so much stuff where I don't know who makes these decisions and why they would think they'd be good decisions, or how little anybody cares about fans. Like fans are the absolute bottom priority, and they don't even hide it. And that's Live, that's the PGA Tour, that is everybody but like the Masters. And that's the other thing. Sorry, I'm going on a rant here. People tell you how crazy the Masters is and like Augusta National, the course and all that stuff. But outside of that, the experience, the care, the desire to do things the right way, and experiencing that for the first time shines a light on every other organization that is simply mailing it in. It's incredible. And I hope that if you ever have a chance to go to the Masters, you go and you soak it all in. It's special. I am paying zero attention to starting strokes this week. Who are your best plays? So kind of already talked about that a little bit. I think Sungjae is very interesting. I think Tommy Fleetwood is very interesting. I think that even going farther down the board, Taylor Pendrith at $6,500 is very interesting. Billy Horschel at $7,100. These are guys that I expect to move up the board. Is Scotty Scheffler the Shooter McGavin of golf if he doesn't win the Tour Championship? Yeah, if he doesn't win the Tour Championship, it's going to be not great. You know what else is going to be not great? If somebody not named Scotty or Xander wins the Tour Championship for the Tour. Because are we really, after these guys have just had 2 historic years, are we really going to look at this and say, wow, Keegan Bradley, he's the champion of the Tour. He's had the best year. He wins the whole thing. And we're going to say that with a straight face. It would be a great accomplishment for him. It would be really cool to see. That is going to be a problem for the PGA Tour. And it'd be a problem for Scotty if he doesn't win. 3 chances at this. I think you gotta do it. Have you ever gotten into matchup markets for par 3s or par 5s? Would be interested in par 3 stats from 200 to 225. Yeah. So No, I haven't. The data's there if you want it. Or Oliver, who is a member of the website. So Oliver, I've got 2 new vlogs out. I don't know if you've seen them yet. One from Hawaii and one from North Carolina. I'll be firing up a vlog from the President's Cup in a couple of weeks. So appreciate you being a member of the YouTube channel. That's very cool. And it says, has your opinion changed after any of the players getting feedback? So I covered that a little bit at the start. I just think that it's going to be firm, and I think it's going to be tough. And I liked what they did with some of the short areas around the greens, instead of just thick rough everywhere. And it's a very well done renovation. Are you putting more attention on around the green this week with players saying it will play tougher and maybe major? Like, yeah, it's probably a good idea. I have not, but maybe I should. Why do I think Burns is on a heater? Well, you probably think Burns is on a heater because he kind of is. And he's probably even playing better than his finishing positions dictate. He has made so many birdies and eagles the last couple of weeks. But he's just, and that was what we said. That was actually the complaint after Memphis, is like, he played well enough to win that golf tournament, and he just made a couple of big numbers and played himself out of it. Kind of the same thing at the BMW Championship, but he cleaned it up. He did get off to a bad start. He lost a stroke to the field in the opening round, but he is on fire right now. Approach and putting, when those two things come together, I've said this a million times, you go low. And that is exactly what he's doing right now. So I don't think well, I guess this is a little bit different, but relatively, I don't think Burns is going to have any issue making birdies. I worry that he has a 9-hole stretch that he makes like 2 doubles and 2 bogeys on, but that's the only concern I have about him. How do you feel about avoiding the top of the board and filling out your lineup with guys starting at 4 under? Yeah, admittedly, I don't know. The difference in the salaries is so important this year. And I think it is going to be pretty important to get in other years, Mason, I'd probably agree with you more. I think you might have to jam Scotty and Xander in a lot of lineups. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm very easily could be wrong here, but you could be unique in other ways, right? You could be pretty unique in other ways by avoiding Tony Finau, which I think is a fade I'd be happy to make. Avoiding Adam Scott, who I like Adam Scott, but this might go horribly south for him if he can't drive it and he can't putt it, which is the problems that he's had the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think I would rather play Scotty and Xander and be different other places than not play them for the purposes of uniqueness. How much, if any, are you downgrading Pendrith, Burns, Wyndham, Finau because they're inaccuracies when every golfer says you need to be playing out of the fairway this week? Yeah, really good question, Tyler. The other thing that I am also wondering about is how easy will it be to hit fairways? Okay. So historically, there are a lot of fairways. I shouldn't say a lot, but there are a handful of fairways that the average was already below 50%. Let's see. Last year, this might take a second to sort. It's a lot of data. There we go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different fairways that were already under 60% last year. So here's the problem. If it is harder to hit fairways, that's good for Taylor Pendrith and Sam Burns and Wyndham Clark, right? They're going to miss them anyway. It's kind of a winged foot situation. Everybody misses the fairway at winged foot. So who wins? The strong guys who can extract from the rough. And the guys who are playing from the rough farther, closer to the hole. I could see that playing out with how firm, how fast we expect this course to play, that it's going to be harder to hit the fairway this year. So I'm not going to downgrade them. I'm not going to upgrade them either, but I'm just going to kind of leave it as is. Rick, where do you see Rick run good in a few years? Any big changes that you want to do? Wow. I could talk about this for a very long time. Yes, of course. So I think that a couple of things for Rick Run Good. It's always about more data, more accurate data, more complete data, more ways to filter and sort and handle that data, and allowing users to have as many options while it's still being user friendly. I have a long way to go, right? I have a long way to go. I want to make the site more mobile friendly. I want to have a lot of different things. I want to continue to expand to other tours. I want to have a complete vision of everything that's going on in golf. I've bounced around. I'm not sure I've ever mentioned this before. I've bounced around the idea of doing this for other sports. And I don't know how realistic that is, because this is a full-time job. This is what I care about. I like the idea of getting into another sport or two, not football and not not the big sports. I like the idea of that, and I could do it, but like I'm not going to be able to talk about other sports the way I talk about golf. So I would need advocates. I would need other people, or maybe I'll just build those sites for myself and not even ever open them up to the public. I don't know, but I do like the idea of trying to get into maybe one or two other sports. If you made me bet, I think it's an underdog for that to ever happen, because there's so much more in the golf space that I want to do. I don't know. Outside of that, if you have any ideas, shoot me an email. Favorite value bet on the board. There was a number on Ludwig Oberg to finish inside the top 5. Where was this? Yeah, it's still up here. Ludwig plus 140 to finish inside the top 5. He's starting 5th. So he has to hold his position for one of the best players of the year on a golf course that should play well for him. Thought that was weird. So that was the one. Ludwig top 5, I thought was the best one that I could find. Ben on deep dive. Okay. So Ben on has crushed the signature events. He's a great, gains a lot off the tee. I shouldn't say he's a great driver. I guess he's a great driver. Gains a lot off the tee. He's definitely cooled off, right? When he earned the vast majority of these FedEx Cup points, he was not only gaining off the tee, but he was flushing everything on the second shot. You can see from Valero to Memorial, he picked up a ton of strokes on approach. We are not, or excuse me, in ball striking, we are not really there anymore. And it's been a little bit of a tough go since the Scottish Open. So I'm a little bit worried here about Benyon. Maybe we've run out of steam. Maybe the game's trending in the wrong direction. Probably not going to get too much of my exposure. Sorry, I'm chugging my coffee right in your face. Hey, Rick, difficult here one. Scotty and Pendrith or Xander and Finau? I don't know if it's that difficult. I think it's Scotty and Pendrith. Pendrith's been really good. Are we aware of that? Pendrith has been really good and has a ton to play for. President's Cup implications. He's just been great. He's been great. Look at these numbers. He's been great. He's won this year. He's having a great year. Well, since he got off to a horrible start, but after that, it's been a great year. Do you think the possibility of having a FedEx Cup champ that did not win all year is good for those that are pro FedEx Cup? No, if you are pro FedEx Cup, the only thing that the pro FedEx Cup, if you're pro FedEx Cup, it's because you think that like this is a good way to determine who the best PGA Tour player of the year was, right? Isn't that what the playoffs should be doing? Shouldn't the playoffs of your sport determine who the best is? If that's the case, you can't really have somebody not named Scotty or Xander win it. So this is this is why match play in the FedEx Cup finals, and again, I understand there's issues with match play, would actually be better for the pro FedEx Cup people. Because here's what happens. Does anybody think that the Giants were actually the best team the year that they beat the 18-0 Patriots? Is anyone like they were the best team? And most people would say no, but here's the thing. They beat the Patriots, right? So that's the trump card. They get to say, it doesn't matter. We beat the team that you think was best. So I'm the best. I can't argue with that. If Taylor Pendrith were to win the FedEx Cup because of a starting staggered stroke situation, that's a farce. But if he wins the FedEx Cup because he beat Xander and he beat Scotty in match play or whatever it ends up being, you can't really argue that, can you? So I got a lot of thoughts, but yes, that's what's going on. Been a fun year. Thanks, Rick. My one and done wrapped up last week. Excited to see the changes to ELGC, East Lake Golf Club, and what it does to these guys this week. Cheers on the new personal rounds. Oh, thank goodness somebody brought it up because now I can talk about it. I just posted the best round of my life by a mile, by 3 shots this morning. That is a 72, 1 over par, in which I made 6 birdies in an 8-hole stretch. I was unconscious. I've never played like this before. I made a double on 18. I was so nervous. My sphincter was so tight. I made a double on 18. That was all nerves. I made a triple earlier in the round. I've never made this many birdies. This is a month's worth of birdies for me. Maybe not. Maybe a week's worth. But it was so much fun. A 72, by far the best round I've ever posted. That was round number 52 of 2024. Yeah, I play a lot of golf. What's your beef with Tony this week? I don't think I have beef with Tony. I just think that he is, he's priced in a spot where there's a lot of other really good options. The putting, which has been the key to his success in the summertime, has cooled off. And I just, I look at what he's done around East Lake. He's lost strokes to the field in 3 of his last 4. I don't know. I just think I love Tony, but I just think that he's in a spot where, like, I'd rather play Fleetwood. I'd rather play Sungjae. I'd rather play Wyndham Clark. Nothing against the guy. So this is Josh says back 932 with a double. Yeah, I trust me. I know. So here's the thing. I didn't really know where I was at. Right? I knew I had made 6 birdies. Obviously, I knew that. I knew I just kept putting circles on the card, and they were just all tap-ins. I was like this, like 9 was like a 4-foot putt. 10, I almost aced and tapped it in. 12 was like a 6-footer. 14, it was a par 5. So that was like a 5-footer. 15 was like, that was probably the longest one. That was like 8 feet. And then 16 was like 18 inches. I was dialed. On 18T, I was comfortable. Over 18 fairway is it's a tough finishing hole. It was like 200 to the middle, but like the first 150 of it is water. And I got to go over the whole thing. And I just sculled a 4-iron directly into the water. Took a drop from the edge, hit a 7-iron to 10 feet and 2-putted, something like that. So, I didn't know exactly where I was. I did not know I was under par on 18. I did not know that I could shoot conceivably like a 29 coming in. I did not know that. The guy I was playing with, it was just the 2 of us, James, shout out James. I play with him a couple times a month when our schedules line up. He was in full no-hitter mode. Just like we were talking about anything besides golf. He was like, he gave me the details about the 49ers and their outlook for the year and how the Rams are shaping up. And we were just like anything but talking about golf is where we were at, which I thought was a lot of fun. Couple other items here. So we have the Tour Championship Listener League on Splash. This is the biggest guarantee we've ever had. 500 people, $20 entry. They're guaranteeing the whole thing. So even if this doesn't fill, it's going to pay out, I think, $1,200 to the winner. Is that right? Yeah, $1,143. So if you want to go grab a spot in that, it'd be great. I'd love to fill it. That allows us to continue to increase them, which is nice. So if you want to go check that out, the link's in the description. There are also there's an NFL Survivor in there, and there's a NFL Touchdown one and done. The other thing is I made a Survivor video, which you can go check out. And I know next week will be very popular for this. But the guys at Pool Genius who we use for the one and done tools their Survivor tools are even better. So sick, amazing. All the information's there. Links in the description. I skipped a comment earlier about the underdog. I'm leaning just kind of like the hires until somebody proves me wrong, right? So this is a par 71 now. Xander 67.5. Are we really like, I'm going to take higher until something proves me wrong, right? 67.5, shoots 68. It's a great round. And he has not cashed this. For him to get 67 or lower, I think is pretty crazy. So I'm going to kind of stay on that side of things for a while. Wyndham Clark as well. Wyndham Clark, does he still have his bogey number up here? Yeah. 2.5 bogeys for Wyndham Clark. I'm taking the higher there. If you could conceivably, I think Wyndham Clark especially could have a very good round to make 3 or 4 or 5 bogeys. I do not think that is out of the question whatsoever. I think there's going to be a lot of variance around this place. So those would be my starting points. But I did also see, one of the things that came out of, I've already used my token. One of the things that we discussed a lot a couple of weeks ago with Underdog is continuing to innovate. So they're now, if you saw it, they've released these tokens, which I think is pretty interesting. And this token you can use for anything. There's like a free play token, which is one I just used. I just paired it up with somebody did a home run tonight. Where basically, like if you get it wrong, it is it's free. Like they just put that money into your bonus account. So like it's $10. I think $10 is the max, and then you get the $10 if it doesn't win. The other thing is you can earn tokens that are like, okay, adjust this line down to 0.5. It doesn't matter what, it's anyone that you want. So you would take like Baker Mayfield, 209 passing yards, take it down to a half a yard, right? So you're going to see a lot more of those tokens running out over the course of the next few months and all that fun stuff. They've got a lot of promos running right now. The best one they've got is the one that I've got, promo code Rick, link in the description. And it's $1,000 deposit match. So get that ready to rock and roll. Happy New Year. Oh, question to follow. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for all you've done for PGA DFS. What happened to Scotty's putting and how can you quantify it? Well, I can quantify it very easily, right? I can tell you how many strokes he's gained or lost, but I think that you're aware of that. It's just one of these situations where, he's always a little bit on the edge, right? I think he has trouble reading some putts sometimes. I think that once he starts missing a couple, it kind of gets into his head a little bit. I don't think it's anything to be super worried about. I'm at the end of the questions. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a gulp of my coffee. I'm going to give this about 30 more seconds. Anything you want. I don't care what it's about. We can talk business. We can talk golf. We can talk this US Open that I'm watching right now. All that fun stuff. But I'll give it like 30 seconds. I'm going to chug my water or coffee real quick. Is this the best entertainment you've ever seen? Come on now. This is the best. How will you spend the time off between the Tour Championship and the Fall Swing? All data. There is something called V211, version 2.11 that is that I'm testing right now of Rick Rungood. Did you know we have versions? Yeah, believe it or not. So, I mean, my buddy who is my developer for things that are over my head, very professional. We've got versions. 2.11 is in my inbox right now. I've been testing it. Should I show you? Oh man, should I show you? Mina's not here to reel me in. All right, I'm gonna show. This is beta. I'm still testing this, and there's a lot of things, but I'm gonna give you a glimpse of it. Okay. I'm going to give you a glimpse of it. There's a light mode and a dark mode. I hear you, my people. I'm going to show you a profile page. Never done this before. I'll show you Rory's profile page. Armina would kill me if I was doing this. She's not here. Her loss. And there's things are going to change. Don't hold me to this. But we are trending towards something like this. Okay. And you'll be able to full screen. You'll be able, there are keyboard shortcuts. This is the light mode, obviously. Here's your insights, right? I can zoom in a little bit. Here's your insights. Here's your stats. Here's your courses. Here's your news. The other thing is, there is the navigation should be a lot better on mobile and or on smaller screens. Okay, so this is all in here. Custom model. So this is all, we've got light mode, we've got dark mode. So you can go in and I'll show you the dark mode. You'll be able to switch. So, oops. Here's the dark mode. Okay. So I've got updates for this and a lot of stuff to change, but yeah, lots of cool stuff coming. So to answer the question, it is it's going to be a busy week. It's going to be data. It's going to be all that stuff. Don't tweet at Armina and tell her that I showed that. Oh yes, my Creator Classic betting card. Here's okay. Is that starting right now? Luke Kwan will win. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta end this myself. So I'm wishing you all the best of luck. I appreciate all the support. There will obviously not be a live show next week, but just know things are being done behind the scenes that are making your experience as good as possible. I appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you soon.